It was a warm summer night, and my friends and I were driving back home from our weekend trip. We had spent the last few days camping and hiking in the nearby woods, and we were exhausted but happy. It was around midnight when we decided to stop at a gas station to refuel and grab some snacks. As we pulled into the gas station, we noticed that it was eerily quiet. There were no other cars or people in sight, which was strange for a 24-hour gas station. We shrugged it off and parked our car next to the pump. As we got out of the car, we noticed an unpleasant smell in the air. It smelled like rotting flesh. We tried to ignore the smell and started filling up the tank. Suddenly, we heard rustling in the nearby bushes. We turned around to see what it was, but we couldn't see anything in the darkness. The rustling grew louder and we heard heavy breathing. We were getting scared. Just then, a large, hairy creature emerged from the bushes. It was about 7 feet tall, with razor-sharp claws and glowing red eyes. It let out a blood-curdling scream that made our hearts race. We froze in fear as the creature slowly approached us. We scrambled back into the car and locked the doors, but the creature started pounding on the windows with its claws. It was trying to break in. We were terrified and had no idea what to do. We could hear its angry growls and snarls as it continued to attack the car. I immediately hit the gas pedal, trying to get away from the creature that had just attacked us. My heart was pounding in my chest, and my mind was racing with thoughts of what the creature could be and how we were going to get away. As we sped down the road, I could see the creature in my rearview mirror, still chasing us. It was incredibly fast, moving with an unnatural speed that made me think it was not a natural animal. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness, and I could see its sharp teeth as it bared them at us. I could hear my friends screaming in terror in the back seat, and I knew that we needed to get away as quickly as possible. But the creature was keeping up with us, and I didn't know how much longer we could outrun it. Suddenly, I heard a loud thud from the back of the car. The creature had jumped onto the trunk, and I could feel it shaking the car as it tried to break through the metal. I swerved the car from side to side, hoping to shake the creature off, but it held on tightly. I could feel its weight pulling the car back, and I knew that we were in serious trouble. Just then, we came to a sudden stop. I looked up to see that we had driven straight into a wall of trees. The car was stuck, and we were completely trapped. The creature was still on the trunk, and I could hear it scratching at the metal with its sharp claws. I knew that we had to get out of the car, but I didn't know how we were going to do it. Suddenly, the creature let out a loud screech, and I knew that it was about to attack. I quickly opened the car door and jumped out, followed by my friends. We ran through the woods as fast as we could, but the creature was right behind us. We could hear its footsteps pounding the ground, and its breath on our backs. We finally came to a clearing and saw a cabin in the distance. We ran towards it, hoping to find some sort of refuge. As we got closer to the cabin, I could see that the door was slightly ajar. We ran inside and locked the door behind us. We were safe for the moment, but we knew that the creature was still out there, waiting for us. We huddled together in the corner, waiting for the dawn to break. As the first light of morning began to filter through the windows, we heard a loud screech from outside. We looked out the window and saw the creature staring back at us with its glowing red eyes. We knew that we had to leave the cabin and get as far away as possible. We quickly gathered our things and ran out the door, hoping to outrun the creature one last time. As we ran through the woods, I could hear the creature chasing us, its footsteps getting louder and louder. But just as we thought it was going to catch us, we burst through the tree line and found ourselves back on the road. We jumped into the car and hit the gas, driving as fast as we could away from the creature. We finally made it back to our homes, safe but completely terrified by the experience. We drove away from the gas station as fast as we could, trying to put as much distance between us and the creature as possible. We didn't stop until we were safely back in our homes. The next day, we tried to rationalize what had happened. We searched online for any reports of similar encounters, and we found a few stories about a cryptid creature known as the skunk ape. It was said to live in the swamps of Florida, but we were in a completely different state. We couldn't explain what we had seen. Years have passed since that terrifying encounter, but we still talk about it from time to time. We may never know what that creature was or why it attacked us, but it's a memory that will haunt us forever. We now know that there are things out there that we cannot explain or understand. I don't know what that creature was or where it came from, but I know that I never want to encounter it again. The memory of its glowing red eyes and sharp claws will haunt me for the rest of my life. Now let's hop onto story number 2, but before I begin reading, make sure that you have subscribed to Mr. Scare for regular horror podcasts. I had been driving my truck for over 6 hours straight and I was exhausted. I was on a long haul from California to New York and it was starting to take its toll on me. I decided it was time to pull over and get some rest. I spotted a gas station just up ahead and made my way towards it. As I pulled into the gas station, I noticed that it was completely deserted. There were no other cars or people in sight, which struck me as odd for this time of night. I parked my truck and made my way inside to pay for gas and to get some snacks. The store was eerily quiet, and the only sound was the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. I walked up to the counter and rang the bell, but there was no response. I called out, "Hello? Is anyone here?" But still, there was no answer. As I turned around to leave, I saw a figure standing in the corner. It was a woman in a white dress, and she was staring at me with vacant eyes. Something about her seemed off. She was pale, almost translucent, and her hair was stringy and matted. I froze, unable to move or speak. I tried to rationalize that it was just my imagination, but the longer I looked at her, the more I knew that it wasn't. I took a step back and asked, "Who are you?" No response. I took another step back, and the woman started to move closer. I could feel my heart racing, and my palms were sweaty. I took another step back, and the woman disappeared. I let out a sigh of relief and walked towards the exit. But as I opened the door, I saw the woman again, standing right in front of me. I stumbled back, and my heart felt like it was about to burst out of my chest. The woman started to move closer, and I could feel a chill down my spine. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that she was a ghost. She looked at me with dark, hollow eyes, and I knew that I needed to get out of there fast. I turned and ran towards the door, but as I reached for the handle, it wouldn't budge. I panicked and looked back at the ghostly figure, and she was slowly making her way towards me. I tried the door again, but it still wouldn't open. I was trapped. The ghost was getting closer and closer, and I could feel her icy breath on the back of my neck. I closed my eyes and braced myself for the worst, but nothing happened. I tried to run, but my legs felt heavy, like they were stuck to the ground. The woman kept getting closer and closer, and I could see her eyes were glowing. I felt like I was trapped, and I was about to meet my end. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, and the woman vanished. I stumbled out of the store and fell to the ground. I was gasping for air, trying to calm myself down. I looked back at the store, and the lights were now on, and there was a person standing behind the counter. I stood up and walked back into the store. The person behind the counter was a man, and I asked him if he saw the woman in the white dress. He looked at me with confusion and said, "No, I haven't seen anyone." I was confused and scared, but I knew what I had seen was real. I got back into my truck, and I could still feel the chill down my spine. I tried to shake it off, but I knew that the encounter had left a mark on me. As I drove down the dark highway, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. I kept looking in my rearview mirror, but there was nothing there. I turned on the radio to distract myself, but the music seemed distorted and eerie. As I approached my destination, I saw the woman in the white dress standing by the side of the road. I swerved to avoid hitting her, but she vanished into thin air. I knew that this was no coincidence, and I had to find out more about this ghostly figure. From that day on, I made sure to research my route ahead of time and avoid any gas stations or rest stops that seemed deserted or eerie. I learned that sometimes the scariest things on the road aren't other drivers or weather conditions, but the supernatural entities that lurk in the shadows. I researched the history of the gas station and found out that a woman in a white dress had died there in a car accident many years ago. Her ghost was said to haunt the place, and many people had reported similar encounters. I never went back to that gas station, but the memory of that encounter still haunts me to this day. I know that ghosts are real, and they can be as terrifying as any other supernatural creature. I was driving down the highway, trying to make it home before the storm hit. The rain was coming down hard, and my windshield wipers were struggling to keep up. I knew I had to stop soon and get some gas, but I didn't want to stop at just any gas station. I wanted to find a well-lit and safe place to fill up. As I drove further down the road, I spotted a gas station off to the side. It looked old and worn down, but the neon sign outside said open. I decided to take my chances and pulled in. The station was dimly lit, and I couldn't see anyone around. I got out of my car and headed towards the small convenience store attached to the gas station. As soon as I opened the door, a musty odor hit my nose. It smelled like something had died in there. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do. I looked back at the gas station and saw that it was dark and deserted. Fear and panic set in as I realized that we were alone in the middle of nowhere with no one to help us. Suddenly, we heard a loud growl coming from the darkness behind us. I shrugged it off and made my way to the back of the store to grab a drink. That's when I heard something move in the shadows. I froze, unsure of what was happening. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness. It was a man, tall and lanky, with wild hair and a bushy beard. He looked like he hadn't seen a shower in weeks, and his eyes were bloodshot and crazed. "Hey there," he said, his voice scratchy and uneven. "You need some gas?" I nodded, not sure what to say. The man walked behind the counter and started typing on the cash register. As he did, I noticed something strange out of the corner of my eye. It was a shadowy figure in the corner, just barely visible in the dim light. I squinted, trying to make out what it was, but I couldn't quite see. The man handed me my receipt and I quickly made my way back to my car, feeling a sense of unease. As I started to fill up my tank, I heard something rustling in the bushes nearby. I looked over and saw a pair of glowing eyes staring back at me. It was too big to be a raccoon or a deer, but too small to be a bear. I tried to ignore it and finish filling up my tank, but the feeling of being watched didn't go away. When I finally got back in my car, I noticed that the strange figure in the convenience store window was now standing outside, watching me. I turned the key in the ignition, but the car wouldn't start. I tried again and again, but it was no use. The engine just wouldn't turn over. That's when I heard a low growling coming from the bushes. It was getting closer, and I knew I had to act fast. I frantically searched for my phone, hoping to call for help, but it was nowhere to be found. I was completely alone, with no way to defend myself. Just then, the creature burst out of the bushes, revealing itself to be a wild and vicious dog. It was snarling and barking, and I knew I had to get out of there before it attacked. I tried the ignition one more time, and miraculously, the car roared to life. I slammed my foot on the gas pedal and peeled out of the gas station, leaving the crazed man and his dog behind. I didn't stop until I was safely back home, my heart racing and my hands shaking. I never wanted to go back to that gas station again, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something truly evil lurked there in the shadows. I was driving down the dark and deserted road with my girlfriend, Sarah. It was a typical evening drive for us, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. We wanted to enjoy some peaceful moments together, and the empty road ahead seemed perfect for it. As we drove down the road, we spotted a gas station, and since the gas gauge was showing low, we decided to stop there. As soon as we entered the gas station, we felt something strange. It was almost as if the air around us had changed. It was chilly, and the place was eerily quiet. I walked up to the gas station attendant and asked for a fill-up, but he just looked at us blankly, without saying a word. I could sense something was off, but I ignored it and went outside to fill up the gas. As I was filling up the tank, I heard some strange noises coming from behind me. I turned around to find a man walking towards me, staggering with a wild look in his eyes. He was disheveled, with long hair and tattered clothes. His face looked like it had not seen a wash in weeks. He looked like a cannibal, straight out of a horror movie. My heart started pounding in my chest, and I quickly finished filling up the tank. I could hear Sarah calling out to me from inside the car, asking me to hurry up. But, as I tried to open the car door, I felt a firm grip on my shoulder. I turned around, and to my horror, it was the same man who was walking towards me. "Get out of here now," he said in a raspy voice, his breath reeking of alcohol. "This place is not safe." I tried to pull away, but his grip was too strong. He continued to speak, "There are cannibals in this area. They come out at night and attack people. You need to leave before they find you." I finally managed to break free from his grip and ran towards the car. I jumped in and started the engine, but as we were about to drive away, the man suddenly jumped onto the hood of our car. He was screaming and pounding on the windshield. I was so scared that I didn't know what to do. Sarah was screaming and crying beside me, and I could feel my own tears starting to stream down my face. We were trapped, and I thought that this was the end for us. Just then, I heard a loud growl, and the man on the hood of our car suddenly went quiet. I looked out of the windshield to see a pack of wolves attacking him. They were tearing him apart, limb by limb. The sight was so gruesome that I couldn't even look at it for more than a second. I quickly stepped on the accelerator and drove away as fast as I could, not stopping until we were miles away from that gas station. We were both shaking, and I could tell that we were traumatized by what had just happened. We didn't speak much for the rest of the journey, and when we finally got home, we collapsed into each other's arms, grateful to be alive. That night was a night I would never forget. It was a reminder of the horrors that can exist in this world, hidden away from the daylight. We were lucky to have escaped that gas station, but I knew that there were many who were not as fortunate. It was a scary reminder to always be aware of our surroundings, and to never take the safety of our lives for granted. It was pouring rain outside as our group of college students pulled up to the gas station on the outskirts of town. We were all exhausted from our field trip and just wanted to get home. But our van was running low on gas and we had no choice but to stop. The gas station looked rundown and ominous, with flickering lights and a broken sign that read "Open 24 hours." I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right about this place. But we were all too tired to care and just wanted to fill up and get back on the road. As we stepped out of the van and made our way towards the gas pumps, I couldn't help but notice the thick forest surrounding us. It was eerily quiet, except for the sound of raindrops hitting the pavement. Suddenly, a loud growl pierced through the silence. We all froze, trying to locate the source of the noise. That's when we saw it. A pair of glowing eyes in the darkness, staring straight at us. It was too big to be a dog or a wolf, and it was getting closer by the second. We quickly realized that we were being stalked by a wild animal. Adrenaline rushed through our veins as we scrambled to get back into the safety of the van. But the animal was faster than us, and it lunged towards us with ferocity. We managed to slam the door shut just in time, but the creature started scratching and clawing at the windows, trying to get inside. We were all screaming in terror as the van shook violently under the animal's assault. Just when we thought it was all over, the creature suddenly backed away and disappeared into the forest. We were all panting and sweating, trying to catch our breaths and process what had just happened. As we sat there in silence, the rain continued to pour down around us. I couldn't shake the feeling that something more was going on at this gas station than just a wild animal attack. That's when I noticed a figure standing at the edge of the forest, watching us intently. It was a ghostly figure, with pale skin and dark eyes that seemed to pierce straight through me. I couldn't look away, even as the figure started to move towards us, slowly and deliberately. I knew then that we had to get out of there, and fast. We quickly started the van and drove away as fast as we could, leaving the gas station and its secrets behind us in the rain. As we drove into the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had narrowly escaped something much more dangerous than a wild animal. Something supernatural and sinister that lurked in the darkness, waiting to prey upon unsuspecting travelers. From that night on, I made a vow to never stop at a shady gas station again, no matter how desperate I was. The memory of that night still haunts me to this day, and I can only hope that others can learn from our experience and stay safe on the road.